Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, original, chapter number 4, text number 12. Jnana Yoga. Kangshantam karmanam siddhi yajande iha devada. Kshipram hi manushya loge siddhim samadhi gacchadi. Here Lord Sri Krishna, after he explained about the people's approach towards him and obtained certain degree of benedictions according to the people's sharanagati or surrender or appreciating the Supreme Lord or cooperating with the Supreme Lord, the Lord is actually going to reward them accordingly. However, presently, people are so much diverted towards their own achievements and establishments. Because of that, they are not so much worried about spiritual world, spiritual perfection, liberation, no mukti, moksha, entering into the kingdom of God. No, they are not so much worried about. They like to have achievements immediately. Therefore, people are not much interested in worshipping the absolute Godhead. So now Krishna is telling here, Kangshantam karmanam siddhi. People, because they desire material rewards immediately. I need the success now. Kangshantam karmanam siddhi, which is called fruitive activities. If you perform something, you need the result instant. So therefore, they are not so much worried about the ultimate benefit that endowed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead upon the human beings. No. Yajande iha devada. Therefore they worship all these demigods and semi-demigods. They make an official visit to different temples once in a year. Mostly that is the way it is. They go to Tirupati, yes, who is the absolute Godhead. They also visit Chamundeshwari, Kedarnath, Kashi Vishwanath, Rameshwaram, Dwarika. They make these kinds of plans. Of course, there are Supreme Godhead as well, like in Dwarika and Jagannath Puri. People have a tendency to go and visit different temples. And most of them offer something to the Lord, and in return they desire something. Please give us this. If I am successful in this particular project, I would return 10% or 20% of what I actually make. So this is called business transactions. There are certain deities who accepts that business transactions. You offer to him in advance, or you say that I'm going to give you once I become successful. Today I'm going to give you 50%. After I become successful, I'll give you another 50%. So this is the way the people go and offer to different deities. And most of them are the demigods. The demigods are department in charge of the universe. Just like we have many ministers. They're all in charge of different departments. But they are not prime minister who has control over all these departments. Like that, all these demigods are in charge of various departments allocated by the Supreme Lord. And whoever the jivas qualified to occupy that position, they would get that position. And human beings offer yajna, different kinds of offerings. So that is what Krishna is telling here. Yajande iha devada. They worship that particular demigod. Kshipram hi manushe loke. Kshipram means quick. They achieve results quickly from these demigods in Manusya Loka by worshipping them. Kshipram means fast. Worshipping Krishna is not that fast. Krishna will study your heart very much. What is your intention? What is your mentality? Are you going to go away after you achieve some material benedictions? Because the Lord actually tested them in so many ways, and it may take years. If you are not actually concentrating in the goal, that how you can propagate a mission that glorifies the Supreme Lord and His eternal consort, the goddess of fortune. He would be interested in that kind of things, so that people, those who take up that program, Krishna consciousness, they also get a long-term benefit, not immediate benefit. Just like a child wants to play, right? He doesn't want to go to school. Why? Because playing that game or the sports, he gets immediate pleasure. He doesn't think that if I don't go to school, in future I may not get a nice job by which I can be settled. He doesn't think that way. He wants to take pleasure immediately, or watch movies, or playing cricket, hockey, or football, or whatever. So that is the childish mentality. So the people, those who are involved in demigod worship, their mind is very childish. Why? Because they need the immediate results, which is called in Sanskrit is prayas, immediate results. And there is shreyas, which provides the ultimate result, which is going to stop the repeated birth and death, old age and disease. And we would get an eternal spiritual body in where you can only enjoy. There is no suffering at all. There is no anxiety. There is no sickness. There is no diseases. There is no jara, old age. You always remain young, which you naturally think even now. I wanted to be always young. How much gray hair you may have, you try to conceal that. How much wrinkles you have by using various soaps and shampoos and conditioners and cosmetics, and try to cover up this old age and these wrinkles. So we wanted to be always young, especially these movie stars. They're expert in concealing their old age by dyeing their hair every other day. After a few days, again the gray hair manifests. They try to cover. This is the way the material world and material existence work. We are unable to prevent all these bodily transformations. Why? Because we are in the material world and we have a material body. The body works like any other material objects. All material objects are going to be destroyed. Similarly, all the material bodies, not only just human beings, all dogs, cats, lions, tiger, elephant, everyone's body is going to be perished. These bodies are exactly like any objects in this material world, because the influence of time is so powerful that will dwindle the material body, and eventually the time will destroy the body. But in the spiritual world, spiritual body has no such transformations. So people have no anxiety about death, birth, old age and disease at all. Nor they would have to make any money for the future purposes or tomorrow. Because desire trees are there, Surabhi cows are there. You just would go to Surabhi and ask for a mansion. My dear Surabhi, please manifest a mansion here. I would like to stay here and worship the Supreme Lord in this area for several days. Surabhi immediately manifests. And you go to the desire tree and ask any food you want. Why? Because all these members are conscious. In the material world, they are not conscious. If I tell a person, my dear friend, can you actually bring me 1 kg of Sitafal, custard apple, right? Or Ramphal, 1 kg. He will go and get it. Why? Because he is conscious. But if you tell an apple tree, please give me some pineapple and custard apple, it will not respond because it is not conscious. In the spiritual world, all the trees are full of conscious like personalities. This is the mystic opulences of the Lord. We cannot understand the spiritual world's activities until we enter there. We can only read and comprehend here about the spiritual world. But in order to get the practical experience, we have to enter into the spiritual world. Just like you hear so many things about America and Europe, but only you can read and understand. But practical experience and the way it is mentioned, in order to have that virtual experience, you need to go to that country. Similarly, the spiritual world is full of opulences. Therefore, Krishna is telling us not to run behind these temporary prayers things. Instead, go behind the Shreyas things. That is the ultimate benefit. Therefore, the people who are wise do not indulge in material activities which produces only reactions. Not only you get the wealth, but there will be reactions as well. Because many times the money is not made honestly. Every businessman bluffs the sophisticated members of the society or the country and bluff them, cheat them, and get the results and make money from them. These are the business people. Without cheating or bluffing, they cannot make money. Therefore, the reactions are going to be there. The karma has its own vicious and non-unified or consolidated results. It can only brings you certain kind of sufferings in the future, because most of the time we are not aware about the results of that particular actions. All that we see, like this child seeing, I obtain pleasure by playing this game, so I earn so much money by working on. Doesn't matter whether the customers will be happy or not. This is called prayers, immediate result. In order to fructify that business or make that business successful, they need help from the higher authorities. They are the demigods. So you go and actually pray to them. They immediately give you. You have to sacrifice a little time and some some money to them, they will be pleased. If you do an abhishek to Kala Bhairava, Smashana Bhairava, Mahadev, and do that a few more times, you get your desires fulfilled. So, this is called childishness. And people of this world, whole earth planet, that is what they are looking for. Immediate pleasure, happiness. So therefore, Krishna says here, Kshipram hi manushya loge. In the manushya loga, it's not just you. All these guys are worshipping. Whether it's Europe or Middle East or Sikhistan, Khalistan, Palistan, Pakistan, all these members all over the world, India, Russia, America, they're all worshipping somebody according to their different concepts. They fabricate some form of God and worship. All these worships are going to the demigods. Whether it's Romans or Greeks or Mughals or Britishers or Americans or Indians. At least Indians have the documented deities from the scriptures. So they have that reality concept. Yes, he is Ganesh, he is Shiva, he is Parvati. Other people, they have some imaginary deities. And who would support that kind of worship? It's only these demigods. And ultimately, the result is provided by the Supreme Lord. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Andavartu bhalam tesham tad bhavati alpamedasam. Alpamedasa means less intelligent. Medasa means intelligent. Alpa means little bit. Those who have little intelligence, antavartu balam tesham, they go behind these temporary results which are quickly obtained. Devan deva yajoyandi, worshipping those demigods, they get the results. Madbhakta yandi mamavi, my devotees attains me. Devan deva yajoyandi, the worshippers of the Devadas, they attain them because of alpameda, little intelligence, lack of brain substance, not drinking enough milk at night before going to sleep. Lacking of not drinking the milk will reduce the brain substances. So then you take all the temporary things into very big things. Just an example. You need to chant the holy name of the Lord as well. So this is the understanding. So let us not go behind prayers. Let us go behind Shreyas. We need to worship the Supreme Lord. Of course, while worshipping the Supreme Lord, what do we do with our material desires? In Srimad Bhagavatam, the great sages explains that in any case, whether you have a desire, you don't have a desire, you have a desire for the moksha, liberation, even material things, you stick with Krishna's worship. Akama sarva kamova moksha kama udharati. You have no desires or all desires, or desire for liberation or moksha. In any case, you worship the Supreme Lord. Tivrena bhakti yogena. Tivrena means intensely engage in Krishna's worship. Yajande purusham param. He is actually the Purusha, above all Purushas. Purusham param. Yajande means worship the Supreme Lord. Now, that is the opinion of the sages. You worship always. However, Krishna says, Ama bhaje mage vishaya suga, amrita chadi vishamage ei bhada murka. Amabhaje mage vishaya suga. While worshipping me, a person who desired to have so many material objects, vishaya suga. Amrita chadi vishamage ei bhada murka. That person is compared here who gives up the amrita, the nectar. Amrita chadi vishamage, and accept the poison part. Therefore, he is said to be Yei Bhada Murka, a biggest fool. Ami Vigya, since I am intelligent, I'm not saying, Krishna is telling. Yei Murke Vishaya Kene Diva. Why should I actually give him the Vishaya Sukha? The articles for their sensual pleasure. Why would I actually give him? So Charanamrita Diya, I will give myself my lotus feet. So Charanamrita Diya, Vishaya Bhulaiva. By having association with me and transcendental bliss, happiness, incessantly enters into his heart, he forgets the Vishaya Sukha. So Charanamrita Diya, he will forget Vishaya Bhulaiva. So that is the quality of worshipping the Supreme Lord. So the sages said that in any case you worship the Supreme Lord. Now Krishna is telling, come, come, come. I will give you the right objects for your eternal happiness. Not these Vishaya Sugas. Bricks and stones and cement and steel and all put together, you get some place to stay. But how long you stay there? Wonderful place. Wonderful metal car. Dash into a truck. Finished. It seems to be everything is beautiful. So we are looking for such things, great car, great house, great things, great things. So these are called Vishaya. Opulent food, drinks, and so all will be turned to waste food and waste water. But not in the spiritual world. None of these things are there. And to see the reality of the spiritual world, we need to commit it to the Supreme Lord. So, Kankshanda Karmanam Siddhi Yajande Iha Devada Kshipram Hi Manushye Loke Siddhim Samadhi Gacchadi. These people, they go behind these material Vishayas and they get it and they are satisfied and they die like any other living beings, ending up in the hospital, going to coma and coming back, having tubes all over the places, and in this way, miserable death will take place to them. But not to my devotees. Krishna says, Jara Marana Mokshaya, those who want freedom from death and old age, they take shelter of me, Krishna says. So, in this way, we quit this idea of achieving something immediately by which you suffer the consequences, because that was more often not earned properly. All these rich guys, right? Your Tata, Birla, Reliance, their margins are very high. Ordinary people cannot afford. So they just want to take your money by selling their commodities. And most of the time, these businessmen meet the horrible death. Whether it's on the hospital beds or plane crash or car crash or this crash, that crash. It appears they have done a great service to the nation. But the mentality is to propagate their own glory, nothing to do with God. Even if they are charitable, what is the use of such charity when you actually plunder somebody? The not plundering itself is a charity. But you plunder from people and give little bit to some religious organizations. No use of it. Because of this greedy mentality, there are poor class. Always they are unable to progress materially or spiritually. Why? In order to perform spiritual activities, we need to have a sanguine and tranquil mind and heart, peaceful heart. But because of this requirement, need, we are not at all peaceful. How we can enter into the spiritual life? Therefore, most of the people do not pay attention to the spirituality. They are going behind the material things. In this way, one day they die. However, some or other, if they control and realize that these all because of my own karma, divert my attention to change that karma, coming to the shelter of the Supreme Lord, He will change the entire situation regardless of who they are. Understanding Krishna's position. Yomam evam ashammudo janadi purushottamam sarvavid bhajadi mam sarva bhavena bharata. Krishna says here, one who knows me as I am the supreme majestic personality of Godhead. Yomam evam ashammudo janadi, know me, Purushottama, the best of all personalities, human beings, even if you think God is a human being. So if you understand His position without doubting, ashammudo, without doubting, sa sarvavid bhajadi mam sarva bhavena bharata. A person who understands me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Majestic Lord, he always engages in my devotion service. So this is Krishna's declaration that He is the Supreme Brahman. Therefore, He knows where to cut your attachment and liberate you from the material condition of life. Not the demigods who supplies you the immediate results. Like the parents love their children without looking their future, they keep supplying. In the end, the child gets spoiled. Later they become a rob, thief, plunderer, because we haven't raised them properly. Due to material attachment and material affection, we misguided them. We could not raise them properly. Similarly, we should come out of this material concept of life. Anyway, we stop. Thank you. Hare Krishna.